Okay, chapter 4.2, percents and decimals. This should be pretty easy. We're comparing, or we're switching back and forth between percents and decimals, and they can be written quickly. Percents can be written quickly as decimals, and decimals can be written quickly as percents. Let's start by showing you how to write a percent as a decimal. Say we say something like 52%. And remember that 52% is just 52 pieces out of 100. Okay, so if we were to write that as a fraction, you'd write just 52 out of 100. But if I say that 52 hundredths, I can figure out that there is a way to write 52 hundredths as a decimal. Because if I read this decimal, 0.52, if I read it the correct way, it's 0 and 52 hundredths. So this is 52 in the hundredths place, tenths, hundredths. And these are the same. And so if I want to get from 52% to 52 hundredths, it's actually as simple as remembering that there's a decimal here that we don't usually write because there's no points after the decimal. Moving it 2 times. Okay, and we move it 2 times because 100 is 10 to the second power. It's 10 times 10, which is 10 to the second power. That's what 100 is. So if we move 2 places over, the first place is times 10, and the second place is times 10, and 10 times 10 is 100. So we move the decimal to the left when we're changing from a percent to a decimal. Okay, that's all there is to it. Remember that percentages are out of 100. I said that. What happens? We start with 1%. That's just 1/100th, which is just 0.01. If I took my decimal here and moved it over twice, I can see that I have to add a 0 here to make it work out, because it's not just 0.1, it's 0.01. If I had something like, say, 10%, just similar to 1%, that's 10 out of 100, and that would be written as 0.1. And it would be okay to add that 0, but you don't have to. This is 10 hundredths. 10 hundredths is the same as 1/10. So this is the same as this. These are equal to each other. Okay, so again, moving the decimal 2 places. I didn't use my red pen that time. Maybe I should. Just every time I move that decimal, I'm using red. The decimal goes from here and moves over here. So we had 1, now we have 10. We see what those look like. Okay, so this is 1%. This is 10%. These look very similar, but they are not. 0, 1 and 1, 0 are not the same. Okay, next, say we did like 88%. Now, if we just get kind of sneaky and we just start by moving the decimal twice, we're going to get, I don't need that, 0.88. We skipped this step of saying 88 out of 100. 88 over 100 is the same as 0.88. 88 hundredths. That's how we'd read that. Notice as we get closer to 100 hundredths, well, what would 100% look like? And I want you to see that as we started with 1, we went to 10, and 88. What happens when we have 100%? If I move the decimal over twice, if I just follow that method, it's going to come over to here. And 100% is equal to 1. Like that. It could be just 1.00 or 1.0 or just 1. We move the decimal over twice, and those zeros end up not having any meaning. That's the same thing as 100 hundredths. That makes sense to you. Now, just for kicks, we need to look at what happens when we have more than 100%. Say we have 142%. I wrote it in red. I guess we could do that. We're going to use green to move the decimal over 2 places. And so this one is 1.42. Or if we had done it the long way, 142 over 100, this is an improper fraction. And we have 1, right, and 42 hundredths, and we already know that 42 hundredths is the same as 42 hundredths looking like this, 0.42. So you could kind of see how we made that jump. And that's what happens if you have more than 100%. 100% is everything. Okay? It's all of it. But if you, when you're starting to grow, you can end up having more than 100%. Like if I ate 100% of the cookies, I ate all the cookies. They're all gone. I can't eat more than 100% of the cookies. It's true. But if I had $10 yesterday and today I have $20, that means that I have 100% more. It's like adding 100% on. But if I had, say I had $10 yesterday and now I have $30, that's like increasing more than 100%. It's actually like increasing 200% because yesterday I had 10 and now I have 30. So I added 20 to get 30, and to get 20 is twice as big. And so it's 2 times 200% bigger. All right, so that's sort of just an extra something that you don't have to worry about for today's assignment, but it's nice for you to hear about. Now, the only other thing we have to do is change from decimals back to percent, and that's just as easy. In fact, it might be easier. Say we have a decimal 0.47. All we have to do is literally move that decimal the other direction, because 0.47 is 47 hundredths. So I could write it like that. I could say, well, that's 47 hundredths. And I start to go, oh, well, that's the same thing as 47%. But really, I'm just moving the decimal over. In fact, when I start to get bigger ones, like say I do one of those over 100%, or which would be like 1.28. Oh, that's not an 8. I'll go ahead and make it an 8. 1.28 is like 128 over 100. We don't actually have to do that if we know that we can just move that decimal twice. It's equal to 128%. And if we were, for some reason, to go the other way and say that I had this number, 0.034, this is actually 34 thousandths. If I were to draw this as a fraction, it would be 34 over 1,000, because tenths, hundredths, thousandths is 34 thousandths. If I wanted to change it to 100, it's actually like 3.4 over 100, which is 3.4%. But what might be even better is just to remember that if you move the decimal twice, it goes to 3.4. So it's 3.4%. It's almost like multiplying it by 100. Okay, since we have this 3.4 over 100, if we multiply by 100, it just becomes 3.4. So since percent is out of 100, percentage is out of 100. So that's how that works. And you should be able to just keep doing that all day long. All right, so this assignment is going to go really fast, and I'm going to have to find something extra for you to do. There's a couple of worksheets I can find. Okay, have a great rest of your day.